Hello watch aficionados, I hope you're all really well. So today is the 31st of May, let me check that, yes, the 31st of May, and I thought I'd deliver the third and maybe the final installment for now in terms of my short kind of Q&A series, which has been fun. It's allowed me to kind of interact with some of my viewers and subscribers and answer some questions, because sometimes I have to find my own topics to talk about. Hence, at times I have these breaks which can go on for 2 or 3 months at a time. So before I kick off, as I've been doing for my first 2 episodes, which watch am I wearing? It's pretty predictable, guys. I am wearing the Panerai 1033. I hope it kind of flashes up there. I'm not sure if it gets picked up. I'm trying to mess around with the camera at the moment in the evening, which, you know what, it's just highlighted what an absolute amateur I am with all this stuff. I used to be really good with technology when I was a kid, younger, programming, everything, but I think I just took too much of a break with sports, and and I've just become really simple. So yeah, guys, listen, I thought I'd kick off straight into the questions. In terms of updates, what's been happening in the watch world a little bit. I've been enjoying the feedback. A lot of you guys have been getting in touch with me on Instagram in terms of what your feedback on my videos, because obviously I get people getting in touch with me on Instagram, people getting in touch with me in the YouTube comment section. It's been nice and positive, and some people getting some really detailed questions, ones which have left me a bit stumped. Some of them have mentioned watches which I personally have never really heard of, but it goes to show that I am still a beginner in this world, so to speak. Even though I've been into watches most of my life, from when I was a kid with the Argus catalogue and whatnot, I still am somewhat of a beginner. But then again, we've all got our own choices in watches. One small update on the Panerai 1033 is that I've changed the strap for a rubber strap. Not because I don't like my other straps, but because this week I am planning on doing some swimming in the UAE. I am planning to get out there a little bit, and I've had a bit of a tan since my last video, so I have been out in a swimming pool, but I had to leave the Panerai on the side because I've got these very nice straps. I don't know what they are, canvas, some are Alcantara, various materials, and if I get it in the chlorine water or the salt water, it'll be pretty much game over. So that's one kind of negative, I guess, about the whole strap interchanging. But then again, everyone will say, yeah, get loads of rubber straps. Rubber straps are great. I like rubber straps. I think it's a beautiful rubber strap. You can't really pick it up a lot at the moment, but it can get a little bit sweaty underneath there sometimes. Sometimes it grips my hairs. Speaking of hairs, I've come out somewhat looking like a Peaky Blinder since my last video. I went to spruce up the old barnet. I went to get a haircut. I think the guy just wanted to test his clipper machine, and here I am left saying that my head does feel a lot cooler now most of the day, which is a good thing. It can be quite hot-headed. So guys, let's kick off into a few questions. I think I've shortlisted 1, 2, 3, 4. I think about 6 questions. Hopefully, I'll be able to cover that in my approximate 15 to 20 minute waffle. So let's go for the first question. Again, bringing us back into straps. A chap called Jake Miller. What are your thoughts on NATO straps? I've noticed I haven't seen you wear one. Cheers, mate. Love the content. Thanks, Jake. NATO straps. You know what? I think NATO straps, for me personally, they're a lot cooler in my mind than they are in reality. I own some NATO straps. I actually own 2 NATO straps. I think I had one video once of a Breitling Seawolf Avenger I had on a kind of green strap. I like NATO straps. I just think that the whole fold, the fold thing over, I see it too much, and it actually makes the watch look a lot bigger. I wore a NATO strap to Bali 2 or 3 years ago when I visited Bali. I did, I was doing waterfall jumps from 5 to 15 meters, and I thought it would be a good time to wear a NATO strap. Even though I was wearing the SKX for a good reason, you don't want to be taking a 15 meter jump into a waterfall with your Rolex, risking smashing your bracelet badly against the water and it all coming apart. I did feel comfortable wearing a NATO then, and it survived the test of the jump. I think I did 3 jumps or 4 jumps, or a few at 5, then a couple at 10, and then 15 meter jump was one was enough for me. That was just a manly thing. I had to do it. I didn't really enjoy it. I was too scared about an old shoulder injury or dislocation that I had. But NATOs are nice. I think Omega have some very stunning NATOs. I was in an Omega shop a couple of times this month, and they've got such a wide variety, a selection of straps and these striped designs, black with cream and blue with red. Beautiful NATOs. I'm not the biggest NATO fan. I don't think I'd wear it. I've worn it. I've worn a NATO strap probably 10 times in the last 18 months. I'm not quite sure why. I think maybe the materials or the nylon. It sits comfortably and it fits comfortably, but I just prefer a good rubber strap, or I prefer a leather strap, or I prefer the bracelet. Maybe I haven't explored it. Maybe I haven't found the right straps. I just don't think I'm the bigger fan for wearing them, and maybe in time, if I get an Omega, I might try it. I think Omega is the kind of automatic watch I want to put on a NATO. I don't know why. I think it's quite well associated. I think it's also the selection they offer. It makes you want to spend money. It's kind of like Panerai. They make you want to spend cash on the wide variety of straps they have, and on online support and so forth. Anyway, I hope I've given some insight into that a little bit. NATO straps. That was a good question. Next question. A chap called D. I think I've covered that before, or I've answered one of these questions before. So another great Q&A video. Thank you for answering my question about the watch rotation. Okay, so I have. I'm doing the same as you stated, and got tired of thinking about which watch to wear daily. So I have a Tudor Pelagos that I wear daily, and the Rolex is kept for special occasions. I feel self-conscious wearing a Rolex to work. I do not want to attract attention and being labelled as pretentious. Do you feel that the hype of Rolex is ruining the experience of owning a Rolex? All right, so there's kind of 2 questions there, or maybe one statement is I feel self-conscious wearing a Rolex to work, and then is the hype ruining the experience of owning a Rolex? I think I've gone into hype quite considerably over the last few weeks. I've had hypes, Rolex, people moaning about it, people looking at other brands. I'm happy because I bought a Panerai because I wasn't able to get certain Rolexes. I think I've covered the Rolex hype and the frustration surrounding it quite extensively. But yeah, I think the hype and everything is ruining it a little bit. As for, I think the question that I'll take from that paragraph is, you feel self-conscious wearing the Rolex to work. You don't want to attract attention and look pretentious. I think it also depends on which field you work in. I've always worked mainly in capital markets and banking, and I think that's, as a sector, is associated with your typical, tossers, really. People who wear these types of watches, Rolex subs, two-tone subs, Datejust. I think it's just part and parcel of it. I've noticed people in the office in different parts of the world wearing Rolexes. I've struck up conversations with senior individuals who wear Rolexes, and we've bonded over it. I've recognized what they're wearing, and I think it can benefit you as much as it can kind of put you at a disadvantage. If you've got your Rolex and you're just going to be talking to, let's say, a junior, say, analyst, investment banking analyst, whatever, you know, they're junior. It's, you kind of look like a show-off idiot. But we've probably all been in that position. We've seen someone who's got a nice watch. It just depends on how you bring it to someone's attention. If you're just wearing it, you're wearing it. Doesn't matter what people think. Something to aspire to. That's how I've always put it. But I don't think there's anything to really worry about. You know, some people have this classic thing. You know, I don't want management or someone to see that I'm doing well or that I've got this watch. I don't think it'll disadvantage you. I think it, you know, people go under the same umbrella as when they progress in a company and they want to do well. I mean, some people have really nice cars. I know some people have very nice cars at home, and they drive a Nissan Micra to work because they don't want to look like they're doing too well or overly well. They don't want to look like they're being overly compensated for whatever job they're doing. So at home, they've literally got a GT3 RS, and you know, they drive to work in a Nissan Micra. You know, people are a bit worried about what others think about them. It all depends on the country, the town, the village, the city you live in. You have to judge it carefully, and yeah, there are people you can frustrate and annoy, but I think it also depends on how you carry yourself at work. If you're smug and all that, then it can rub people up the wrong way. So there has to be a strategic calculation behind it. But I think automatically, you don't look pretentious. You know, if you go in wearing a two-tone, you know, it could, you know, raise eyebrows. But if you go wearing an understated sub, especially pre-ceramic, those things are pretty much invisible unless a watch person spots it. I've had Rolexes, I've worn them places, no one even notices it. I've had Breitlings. Everyone notices the Breitling because it's huge. It's like a hockey puck on your wrist, and it's out there. I've had compliments on a Breitling, but you know, maybe I've been ignored because I had a Rolex, or maybe or maybe people didn't even know it was a Rolex. You know, unless you know, some time ago I had my Hulk, then it's a green watch. Like, people will say, "Why you've got a green watch?" But yeah, I hope that kind of helps a little bit. I mean, there's no one answer there, but I think you have to calculate it, and you know, what's the culture of the company? What's the culture? What's the company's goal? What sort of people are they employing? You know, I can only speak for capital markets, banking, and all that. I can't speak much for others. I mean, someone on a construction site, I don't know. There are construction guys out there who make big money, can wear a sea dweller, a deep sea. They don't really care because they have that sort of personality where it's like, I don't care, do the job. So many things. It's a very open question, in fact, but you just have to judge it carefully and not be afraid of someone saying, is that a Rolex? Oh yeah, it's a Rolex. Yeah, I bought it for myself when I was 40 as a birthday. Cheers. Why? Just it's about how you carry yourself, I guess. You know, it's certainly what I would do. Next question from someone called Smith. Why do you not like Daytonas? You know, I'm not a big fan of Rolex Daytonas, if I'm honest with you. I never have been, although many years ago when I once walked into a shop selling fake watches, this was in Turkey, like years ago, I bought myself a fake Rolex Daytona. It was my first fake Rolex. This was maybe 15 years ago. I was just sort of like a graduate. I don't know why the Daytona just spoke to me. That was a steel one. But since then, I think my taste has changed massively. For one, I like just, you know, simple watch faces. I'm not a massive chrono fan. That's why I don't really have a chrono yet, although I've been looking at them. But putting that all to one side, the Daytona just pisses me off, if I'm honest with you. It's like an urban legend. It's like a myth. It's like this unattainable watch, like Unobtainium from, I forgot that film, Unobtainium, but it's like this watch. And if I'm honest with you, what I gather from speaking with people and from observing people's actions, most people just want what they can't have, and most people want what they especially can't have, and that is a Daytona. I've looked at polls where people say, oh, do you prefer this watch or that poll or this watch? Daytona against a Pepsi or Daytona against an AP. A lot of people go for Daytona. Me personally, if I break the Daytona down, polished center links, Not a big fan of that. Although it sits relatively well with the Daytona. Complicated face. I've held the Daytonas many times. It's not the most legible dial, really. To quickly look at the time, it's not very legible. It's a bit confusing. I prefer the steel Daytona. I don't like the ceramic Daytona at all. I once had a ceramic Daytona many years ago. Well, 2015, 15 to 16. I had a ceramic Daytona for about a week, and I'll put this back into zoom. Focus. I had one for a short period, maybe 2 weeks, and I sold it because I bought it to sell. I bought it at a premium and I just sold it. It wasn't a watch that I cared about wearing or doing anything. Back then I didn't even have a YouTube channel. I barely used YouTube. I've always been a fan of the underdog watches or something else, something different, not the obvious choice. And the Daytona has become such a status quo, such a default setting in the watch world. It's, I've been to, let's say, F1 paddocks, where teams are, putting the race cars together, tuning. You see the engineers, you see the directors, a lot of people rocking Daytonas, but Daytona has that theme, motorsport, right? So it goes with F1, and I understand a Daytona in that setting. I get it. It makes sense. It's like when you're on a sea, you're on a Submariner. The Daytona makes so much sense in the Abu Dhabi F1 circuit. Yes, it makes so much sense. But as a watch, it's not the easiest to read. It's very small. I mean, it's a lot smaller than I ever imagined it to be, especially the ceramic and the one before. It's just, it's a great watch. Don't get me wrong, it is a great watch. It's just not something I really aspire to having. And I think a lot of people, personally, this is what bothers me most, is a lot of people just want it because it's difficult to get. And that mentality, that human instinct, that's what frustrates me, because of that, we don't know if it's truly the best watch because it's so difficult to get. I mean, if we were to flip it and it was like the Explorer 2 from a few years ago, or even from last year, would it be as popular? Because it's attainable. Do I want it as much? It's attainable. There's a big psychology behind the Daytona. I think it's a bit of a psychology whirlwind, the Daytona. I can't truly gauge it just for the watch, because so many people, they have a mist and distortion around them in terms of the Daytona. It's the unobtainability of it which makes me want the Daytona more than anything, like the Patek Philippe Nautilus or anything. Can't get it, it's the best watch in the world. It's not really how I would write the equation. But anyway, guys, I'm sorry if I upset any guys with Daytonas. I know loads of you have Daytonas and fantastic collections. It's a great watch. Anyway. Next question. Are you an Omega fan, and what from it do you like? I haven't covered Omegas much because I don't own Omega. I had a Planet Ocean once for about a month. Didn't like it. It was a Planet Ocean chronograph. This was years ago. Didn't like it. But the problem with Omega is I'm just confused about where it's placed. They've milked the moon. I can't even look at the moon anymore without thinking Omega moon watch, but that's a good thing, I guess, good marketing. They have milked the moon story to the moon and back. It has been milked. I don't know how many more years we can milk the moon to sell this watch. A friend of mine, he has a Planet Ocean. And I thought about getting a Planet Ocean for a long time, the non-chronograph, just a standard one. It was a very nice watch. I wanted to get this around 2014. First Planet Ocean I ever wanted to get was the orange bezeled one, on an orange strap. I really wanted that watch once, but I never quite went with it. But he sent his Omega back for servicing or for repair twice within the space of 2 years, because the inside hour markers came off. They were loose and they were just floating around inside the dial. So if the watch was like this or this, the hour markers were just sliding along the inner bezel. And I just thought that's really bad quality. I remember we both drove to the mall once, and he said he needed to give his watch for repair, and I knew which watch he had, and he told me. I said, what? So I went to Omega with him, and I cared more about the watch being repaired than him. He was just standing there like, oh yeah, guys, can you fix it again? It's not quite good enough. I'm looking at him, I'm like, no, this is really not good enough. This is ridiculous. You guys are Amiga, you're trying to position yourselves here, there, and everywhere. You're milking everything. And the hour mark has come off twice in 2 years. I mean, what are you selling? It's junk. I really went to town on them. I think that day I was quite hungry as well, but it rubbed me up the wrong way because, you know, I'm a watch person and it's unacceptable. Unacceptable, that type of stuff. But let's just give them a mulligan. Let's give Amiga a mulligan on that. I like the Seamaster 300. I think it's a lovely watch. I'm so bothered by the peanut cup helium escape valve on the C300. It's just, why? Why? Just get rid of this helium escape valve horn. Just cut it off. It makes me just want to cut it off myself, take a saw to it. But if they genuinely remove the helium escape valve on the Seamaster 300, I would consider buying that watch. I'd forgive them for their bracelet. I think it's a very nice looking watch. It's an interesting dial. The hour markers are nice applications, fantastic movement, Meta certified. It's got so much going for it, but it's got these hands pulling it back, and there's a horn on the side for the helium escape valve. And you know, I'm not a big fan of chrono pushers, for example, on watches. So it's always been one of the things that bother me about a chronograph. When I select a chronograph, the pushes, you know, it's important to me. It's part of the watch aesthetic. So yeah, I like Amiga. I'm still deciding how much I like them. I think they have fantastic movements. You know, they do belong to a big group. So do Panerai. You know, they're milking James Bond. They're milking the moon. You know, Rolex milk a lot as well, but. You know, I think many years ago, Amiga used to be ahead of Rolex. I think in the 60s, Amiga used to be above Rolex. And somewhere, you know, when there were marketing wars, something happened, and we have things as they are today. So, you know, it goes to show that first mover advantage in the business world, in the watch world, can often be flipped. Can be flipped, can be inverted. You can lose first mover advantage if you don't milk it well enough, and maybe Amiga now are trying to play catch up with the extra milking on the moon and extra milking on James Bond and anything else. But then again, it's James Bond, so why wouldn't you? I hope that's kind of gone into Amiga a bit. It was a bit of a rant on Amiga, a bit of an assault, but it's my opinion, right? So like I always say, it's my watch journey, it's my thoughts, and I gather it's the evening, and it's, you know, it's kind of dinner time for me. I missed dinner about 20 minutes ago, so so yeah, let me see how much longer I've got left. Ooh, I think I'm running quite over on this one. This next question is actually quite a big question, and I think I'm going to save this for just another time. I think another time I might do a series when it comes to maybe one in June, July. I'll do a nice 3-part series. I enjoy the series, even though they don't give me most viewings. It's just fun. I think most viewings is always when I'm focused on a particular topic. Rolex in the title, of course, Rolex models, updates on particular Rolex references. I always get way more viewings, but you know, I don't really run this channel for, you know, millions of subscribers. I just run it for my own way of talking to people in the world about watches, and it is what it is. But listen, guys, thanks so much for tuning in on the last couple of episodes. Have I done 3 episodes? I think this might be my 4th episode. I think I've done 3 already. I think I've done 3 already on the Q&A series. This might be my 4th now. You see, I should know this. I should know this stuff. This is what happens when you miss a meal, when you get a dodgy haircut. But yeah, guys, thanks for being so interactive and fun. And you know, I've enjoyed making connections with a lot of you guys on Insta, on having discussions on the YouTube, in a YouTube comment section. I will hopefully be coming up with something new in the next week or so. I think I'm going to be able to bring in more watches onto the channel, which will be really interesting because obviously it gives me better exposure. And it will give me something new to talk about with you guys and more viewing pleasure. So, you know, I'm in the middle of still sorting that out and the exact kind of formula behind it and setting. But I think I'll be able to get more watches, and hopefully, you know, for H2 for the rest of the year, we'll be able to look at other watches, because I haven't actually held a new watch in my hand for a while. I think a few years ago I was getting the Deep Seas, the Sea Dwellers, the Subs, the Non-Dates, the Ceramics, the Explorers, you know, the Pepsis, the Hulks. I was bringing stuff in, and obviously since then, you know, I'm frozen out. I can't get anything here. It's always been me and my voice, boring the hell out of you guys. So hopefully that'll be confirmed soon, and it'll be interesting for us all, and you know, developing this channel a little bit further. So till next time, guys, thanks very much, and stay blessed. Bye.